The stars stretched endlessly in the black sea of space, cold and silent. Commander Ryan sat alone in his small ship, watching the blinking lights on his screen. He had traveled far from Earth, far from human voices, searching for work, searching for purpose. The silence had become his only companion, and tonight a faint signal appeared on the radar. At first, Ryan thought it was nothing more than static, but the signal repeated again, weak and broken, like a cry for help. He leaned closer, his heart beating faster. It wasn't human. The frequency was different, strange, almost like a whisper from another world. "Distress beacon," he muttered. His hands moved quickly over the controls, setting a new course. The small ship rattled as its engines roared to life, racing toward the fading signal. Minutes later, Ryan saw an alien vessel drifting in the darkness. The ship was badly damaged, its hull torn open, glowing sparks spilling into the void. No movement, no defense systems, just silence and ruin. Ryan narrowed his eyes. This was no accident. Someone had attacked this ship. Cautiously, he guided his own vessel closer. The outer doors hissed open, and he stepped inside the wreck with his helmet light cutting through the smoke. The air was heavy, metallic, carrying the sharp smell of burning circuits. His boots echoed in the empty corridors. Then he heard it. A soft sound. A voice, weak, trembling. "Help, please." Ryan turned sharply. In a corner of the wreckage, lying against the wall, was a figure unlike anything he had seen before. A woman, but not human. Her skin shimmered faintly, pale silver. Under the dim light, her eyes, large and filled with pain, glowed faintly blue. She clutched her chest, breathing heavily. Beside her, 3 small shapes moved weakly. They were tiny, their skin the same silver shade, their eyes wide and frightened. They clung to their mother, trembling. Ryan froze for a moment. He had seen aliens before, but never this close, never this helpless. His instincts told him to back away. This could be dangerous. But then the mother raised her hand, her voice cracking. "Please, save them, save my children." Her words were broken, but Ryan understood. Something inside him shifted. He was a soldier once, a fighter who had seen too much death. And here, before him, was not an enemy, but a mother begging for her children's lives. Without thinking further, he dropped to his knees. "Hold on, I'll get you out." The ship shuddered around them, metal groaning. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. Ryan realized the truth: the vessel was breaking apart. It wouldn't last much longer. He quickly pulled the children into his arms. They were light, fragile, their small hands clutching his suit tightly. Their eyes looked up at him, filled with both fear and a strange, desperate hope. The mother tried to rise, but collapsed again. Ryan grabbed her arm. "You're coming too?" "No," she whispered. "Save them, not me." Ryan shook his head. "Not a chance. We all go." The ship groaned louder, a warning that time was running out. Carrying the children, he half dragged, half carried the mother through the collapsing corridors. Explosions shook the walls. Fire burst from broken pipes. The sound of tearing metal screamed in their ears. At one point, a beam crashed down, blocking the path. The mother cried out, shielding her children. Ryan set them down, using all his strength to push the heavy beam aside. His muscles burned. His lungs ached, but finally, with a roar, he moved it enough to squeeze through. They stumbled into the docking bay just as the alarms reached their peak. His ship was waiting, its lights glowing like a beacon. He rushed them inside, sealing the hatch behind him. The moment the hatch closed, the alien vessel outside split apart in a violent explosion, scattering burning fragments into the void. Ryan's ship shook, but held steady. He let out a breath. He didn't realize he had been holding. The mother collapsed onto the floor, her breathing shallow. Her eyes, still glowing faintly, met Ryan's. She tried to speak, but could barely form words. "You saved them," she whispered, her voice breaking with tears. Her children clung to Ryan now, too frightened to let go. They pressed their small faces against his chest, calling out in sounds he didn't understand, but their meaning was clear. They trusted him. Ryan felt something stir deep within him, something he had thought long dead. It wasn't duty. It wasn't honor. It was something more human, something simple, compassion. For years, he had drifted alone in space, carrying the weight of battles long past. But now, in his arms, 3 small lives clung to him as if he were the only light left in their dark world. He looked down at them and then at their mother. "You're safe now," he said softly. "I won't let anything happen to you." But even as he spoke, a shadow of doubt filled his mind. Who had attacked them? Why were they left to die in the emptiness of space? And more importantly, would whoever hunted them come after him next? The triplets clung tighter, as if they sensed the danger waiting beyond the stars. The rescue was only the beginning. The hum of Ryan's ship filled the cabin, steady but cold. Outside the windows, stars glided past like silent witnesses. The alien mother lay on a stretcher he had, set near the wall, her breathing shallow, her skin pale silver and faintly glowing. The triplets huddled close to her, yet their wide eyes often turned to Ryan, as if asking him what would happen next. He sat in the pilot's chair, but his eyes kept shifting back to them. He had rescued them from death, yes, but now he felt the weight of something greater. He didn't know who they were, where they came from, or why someone had tried to kill them. At last, he broke the silence. "Can you understand me?" he asked softly. The mother's glowing eyes fluttered open. She stared at him for a long time before answering in broken English. Her voice was weak, yet steady. "Yes, human tongue, hard, but I try." Ryan leaned forward. "Who attacked you? Why was your ship left adrift?" Her gaze darkened. She turned her face away, almost as if afraid the walls themselves were listening. "Not safe, if I tell. Danger comes." Ryan frowned. "Danger already came. If you want me to keep you and your children alive, I need to know." The mother closed her eyes, holding her children close. The triplets made soft sounds, pressing against her arms. She whispered something in her own language to calm them, her voice like a song, trembling but gentle. Finally, she looked back at Ryan. "My name, Lyara, my children, belong to me. My people, they do not forgive. They do not forget." Ryan felt a chill. "Your people," she nodded slowly. "Yes, my kind, strict, cruel law. A mother should not defy them. I refused. They hunted me. They wanted me and my children gone." Her voice broke. Tears shining silver slipped down her face. Ryan clenched his fists. "So they tried to kill you, your own kind?" "Yes." Her whisper was like a knife. "They fear change. They fear mercy. My children, not allowed to live." For a moment, Ryan could not speak. The children, innocent and small, clung tighter to her. He had fought wars, seen cruelty, But this was beyond anything he could imagine. An entire race so merciless that a mother had to flee just to keep her babies alive. He stood and moved. Closer. The triplets startled at first, but then one reached out a tiny hand, touching his sleeve. Their eyes shone with trust. Ryan's heart ached. "Liara," he said firmly, "you're safe on my ship. As long as I breathe, no one will harm you or them." Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe him, but fear still clouded her face. She shook her head. "You do not know. They will come. They always." He darted through the asteroids, weaving between massive rocks, engines straining. The chasing signal grew stronger, closer. Whoever was after them, they weren't giving up. Ryan pushed the ship harder, diving into a cluster of spinning debris. The ship scraped against stone, alarms blaring, but still he pressed on. Finally, the signal began to fade. He cut the engines and drifted into the shadows of a massive asteroid. Silence returned. Ryan sat frozen, sweat dripping down his neck. He had escaped, for now. Behind him, the children whimpered softly. Liara stroked their heads, whispering lullabies. Her eyes lifted to Ryan, filled with something new, not just fear, but gratitude. "You protect us," she said weakly. "But why? We are not your kind. We bring danger to you." Ryan looked at her, then at the children. His voice was low, but strong, because someone has to. Because no one deserves to be hunted for wanting to live. And because he hesitated, his chest tightening. Because I've been alone too long. Maybe saving you is saving me. Lyra's eyes widened. For the first time, she gave him a small, fragile smile. The triplets looked at him too, their glowing eyes soft with something pure trust. The moment was broken when the console beeped again, this time weaker but steady. Ryan checked the screen. The enemy had lost them for now, but the signal carried a message. They were being hunted, and it wouldn't stop. Ryan leaned back in his chair, staring at the endless stars. He had only meant to answer a distress call. But now, he realized, he had stepped into something far greater. Beside him, 3 alien children nestled against their mother, glancing at him as if he were already part of their family. And deep inside, Ryan knew whether he wanted it or not, he had just become their father. But at what cost? The hunt had only begun. The silence of space never lasted long. Ryan knew it. He had lived too many years among stars that looked calm but hid dangers. Behind their glow, still as he sat in the cockpit, watching the alien mother and her triplets rest, he hoped just for a moment that peace would hold. But peace never held. The radar lit up again. This time, it was not one faint signal. It was 3. Ryan's pulse quickened. Enemy ships, small hunters, fast and deadly, closing in from different sides. Whoever wanted Liara and her children dead had found them again. He strapped into the pilot's chair, tightening his harness. "Hold on back there," he said firmly. His voice cut through the quiet, and Lyra's glowing eyes opened. She saw the red lights flashing on his console and understood at once. "They found us," she whispered. Fear cracked her words. The triplets clung tighter to her arms, sensing the danger. Ryan's hands moved over the controls. The ship roared alive, engines burning brighter as he set a sharp course. Stars blurred into streaks as he tried to outrun the hunters. But they were. Faster, a blast of light streaked past his window. The ship shook violently. Metal screamed. The triplets wailed in terror. "They're firing already," Ryan growled. He pulled the ship into a sharp dive, weaving through the emptiness. Another shot grazed the hull, sending sparks flying through the cabin. He cursed under his breath. His little vessel was no warship. He couldn't win in a straight fight. He needed to be clever. He shouted over the alarms. Is there anything about their ships I should know? Weaknesses. She held her children tightly, eyes wide with fear. Then, slowly, she forced herself to speak. Their weapons, strong but shields. Weak if hit from behind. Ryan nodded sharply. Then we'll make them chase us. The hunters swarmed closer, circling like wolves around prey. Ryan pulled hard on the controls, spinning his ship between them. Lasers fired from both sides, crossing. Dangerously close, but Ryan's eyes stayed sharp, his focus unbroken. He led the hunters straight into an asteroid belt, massive rocks drifting like silent giants. The hunters followed. Bad idea, Ryan muttered, lips curving into a grim smile. He darted between the tumbling stones, engines screaming. The hunters fired wildly, blasts striking asteroids, sending shards spinning. One wrong turn, 1 second too slow, and they would all be crushed. But Ryan flew like a man who had nothing left to lose. His ship skimmed past rocks so close that sparks flew as metal scraped stone. One hunter clipped an asteroid and spun out, crashing into another. A flash of fire lit up the darkness. The triplets gasped, their small voices rising in frightened cries. Ryan glanced back, his voice steady. It's all right, 1 down, 2 to go. The remaining ships pressed closer. Ryan darted between 2 massive asteroids, then cut his engines. The hunters raced past him, overshooting. In the silence, Ryan reignited his thrusters, diving behind them. His fingers flew over the weapons controls. Your shields are weak from the back, huh? He muttered. Let's test that theory. He fired. Twin blasts of energy shot forward, striking the nearest hunter square in its engines. The ship erupted in fire, breaking apart in a burst of glowing shards. Liara cried out not in fear, but in shock. Her eyes locked on Ryan, filled with something new. Awe. The last hunter spun around, guns blazing. Ryan gritted his teeth, pushing his ship into a roll, dodging the beams by inches. Sparks flew as one shot clipped his wing. The console screamed warnings, but he didn't stop. He dove hard, pulling the hunter close behind him. The triplets shrieked as the ship rocked violently. Liara held them tighter, whispering in her broken tongue to calm them. Ryan's jaw tightened. He couldn't let them die, not here, not like this. He swerved sharply toward a massive asteroid. The hunter followed, its guns blazing. At the last moment, Ryan pulled up, skimming the rock's surface. The hunter tried to follow but miscalculated. It slammed into the asteroid with a thunderous explosion, flames scattering into the void. Silence returned. Ryan sat still for a moment, his hands shaking slightly over the controls. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. He had done it. Against all odds, he had survived the first attack. Behind him, the children slowly stopped crying. They looked at him with wide, glowing eyes. And then, something happened that Ryan did not expect. One of the triplets spoke. The word was soft, broken, but clear. Dad. Ryan froze. His throat tightened. He turned his head slowly, meeting the small child's eyes. The other 2 echoed it, their voices trembling, but sure. Dad, Dad. Liara stared at them, stunned. Her lips parted, tears shimmering in her eyes. she whispered in her own tongue, then looked at Ryan. They call you father. Ryan felt his chest ache in a way no battle had ever made him feel. These children, who had lost everything, had chosen him. He wanted to deny it, to say he was no father, just a soldier, just a broken man drifting through the stars. But when he looked at their faces, innocent, desperate, full of hope, he couldn't speak the words. Instead, he simply said, "Then I'll be the father they need." Lyra's tears fell freely now. She bowed her head, whispering, "You saved us. Not just with your ship, but with your heart." Ryan turned back to the console. The radar was clear for now, but he knew this was only the beginning. More hunters would come, more battles, more danger. But now, he wasn't fighting for himself. He was fighting for them, and he would never stop. The ship drifted in silence after the battle. Smoke still rose from the panels, and the smell of burnt wires hung heavy in the air. Ryan sat in the pilot's chair, his hands resting on the console. His muscles ached, his eyes burned, but his mind was sharper than ever. He knew what the hunters' attack meant. They were not going to stop behind him. Lyra and her triplets rested in the small living quarters. The children had cried themselves to sleep, clinging to their mother until exhaustion took them. Lyra stroked their silver hair, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. She looked fragile, yet there was a fire inside her mother's fire. Ryan turned his chair slowly. His voice was steady but grim. "They won't give up, Lyra. Send more, bigger ships, stronger fleets. You and your children will never be safe as long as they're hunting you." Lyra lifted her gaze. Her face was pale, her body weak, but her voice carried quiet strength. "I know, I have always known. That is why I told you to leave me. In the wreck, to save only them, not me." Ryan frowned, shaking his head. "I wasn't going to let you die. That's not who I am." Her eyes softened. "And that is why they call you father." The words struck deeper than any wound. Ryan had spent years drifting through space, feeling hollow, unwanted, alone. Now, 3 children, Luyan children, looked at him as family. A bond had been born in fire, and it would not break easily, but bonds came with responsibility. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I need to know something. If I take you to Earth, will your enemies follow? Will they bring war to my people?" Lyra hesitated. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "You are torn, I see it. Your heart wishes to protect, but your mind fears the cost." Ryan turned. "I'm a soldier, Lyra. I've made hard calls before. Sometimes the right choice is also the cruel one." But he looked at the sleeping triplets, their small hands gripping each other even in dreams. "I don't think I can make that call this time." Lyra bowed her head. "I would give my life if it spared yours. If it spared your people. I would walk into the dark willingly, so my children may live." Her voice shook, but her eyes were clear. She was ready to sacrifice herself. Ryan stepped closer, kneeling in front of her. "Don't you dare," he said, his tone sharp, almost angry. "Don't talk about leaving them. Don't talk about leaving me." Her breath caught. For a moment, the fear in her face melted, replaced by something softer. Ryan's voice lowered, steadier now. "Listen to me. No child should grow up without a parent. Not human, not alien, not anyone. If your people want to come, let them come. They'll find out humanity doesn't run." Lyra stared at him as if she was seeing him for the first time. A warrior, a protector, a father. The ship suddenly beeped, breaking the moment. Ryan stood quickly, checking the console. His jaw tightened. More signals. A cluster of ships moving at the edge of the system. They weren't close yet, but they were coming. He gripped the controls. His choice clear now. He wasn't going to abandon them. He wasn't going to run forever, either. He was going to fight. Turning back to Liara, he said firmly, "We're heading to Earth. If they want you, they'll have to go through Mjand, through every weapon humanity has." Liara's lips trembled. "You risk everything, for us," Ryan nodded once, "because you're worth it." The triplets stirred in their sleep, murmuring softly. One reached out blindly and found Ryan's hand. Even in dreams, they sought his touch. Ryan's throat tightened, but he didn't pull away. Outside, the stars seemed colder. The hunters were coming. The war was coming. But in this small ship, something stronger than fear had taken root. Not just survival, not just duty, family, and Ryan knew he had made his choice. The dark side of Earth glowed faintly below, a blue jewel half shrouded in shadow. Ryan's ship entered orbit, its engines tired, its hull scarred from battles. For a brief moment, he allowed himself to breathe home. But peace was an illusion. The radar pulsed red. Dozens of enemy ships appeared at the edge of the system. They had followed. Not just hunters this time, warships. Liara held her triplets close, her glowing eyes heavy with sorrow. "They have come," she whispered. "They will not stop until we are gone." Ryan stared at the console, his jaw hard. "Then we'll make our stand here." He sent out a signal. Within minutes, Earth's defense fleet answered, sleek human warships rising from orbit. Engines blazing, weapons armed. They formed a wall between Earth and the incoming enemy. Ryan opened the comms. His voice was steady, clear, and unshakable. "This is Commander Ryan. Enemy ships are hunting a mother and her children under my protection. They want to bring war to Earth. I say we show them what humanity does when family is threatened." The human fleet responded with a thunder of engines. The alien armada advanced, cold and merciless. Their ships, black and sharp as blades, spread across the stars. At the center, a massive flagship loomed, dwarfing all others. Lyra's breath caught at the sight. "That is them. The council of my people. They lead this hunt." Ryan's chest tightened. He had fought enemies before, but never like this. Yet when he looked back and saw the triplets holding on to each other, whispering "Dad" with trembling voices, the fear turned to steel. "Stay strapped in," he told them. "No matter what happens, I'll keep you safe." The first wave struck. Enemy fighters screamed forward, firing streams of fire across the void. Earth's ships countered with blazing cannons, beams of light carving the darkness. Explosions bloomed like dying stars. Ryan dove into the fight, weaving his small ship through the chaos. His hands moved with precision, eyes locked forward. He fired burst after burst, clipping enemy wings, striking their weak shields. 2 ships went down under his guns, but more kept coming. An enemy fighter slammed him with a direct hit. The cabin shook violently. Panels sparked, alarms screamed. Ryan gritted his teeth, forcing the ship to hold together. Liara cried out, shielding. "The children with her body. We cannot win. There are too many." Ryan glanced back, his voice fierce. "We're not fighting just to win. We're fighting to show them humanity doesn't break." The triplets looked at him with wide, glowing eyes. And in that moment, Ryan felt something ignite in his chest, something stronger than survival, stronger than fear. A father's fire. He pushed the ship forward, targeting the massive flagship. If he could break their leader, maybe the rest would fall. Enemy cannons lit up, striking his path. The ship groaned, metal tearing. But Ryan pressed on. "Dad." One of the children cried, their voices high with fear. Ryan smiled grimly. "Don't worry, your dad's not done yet." He raced toward the flagship, weaving through enemy fire. Earth's warships rallied behind him, inspired by his reckless courage. Together they pierced the enemy lines. Carving a path through the storm, the flagship loomed closer, its guns glowing with deadly light. Ryan's console screamed warnings, shields critical, hull failing. He ignored it all. Lyra's voice trembled. "Ryan, if you do this, you will not survive." Ryan's eyes burned with resolve. If it keeps them safe, it's worth it. He armed his last torpedoes, setting them to overload. The ship shook as alarms blared. The flagship's massive cannon began to charge, energy building to a blinding glow dot. At the last second, Earth's fleet surged forward, striking with everything they had. Ryan fired his torpedoes directly into the flagship's core. The explosion was blinding. The flagship cracked apart, flames consuming its hull, shockwaves rippling across the battlefield. The enemy fleet wavered, broken by the loss of their leader. Some scattered, others fled. The sky cleared. Ryan's ship drifted, broken but still alive. Smoke filled the cabin. He coughed, blinking through the haze. His hands trembled on the controls, but when he turned, he saw them, Lyra and the triplets, alive, holding each other. The children ran to him, their small arms wrapping around his chest. "Dad," they cried together, voices trembling but full of joy. Ryan pulled them close, his throat tight. For years, he had been nothing but a soldier, a drifter with no purpose. But now, in their arms, he was something else. He was a father. Lyra's eyes shimmered with tears. She reached out, touching his arm. "You gave us more than life. You gave us a family." Ryan looked past the smoke, past the scars of battle, to the blue glow of Earth below. For the first time in a long time, he felt whole, welcome home. He whispered, and though the war was not over, though shadows still lingered in the stars, Ryan knew one truth. He was no longer alone, and nothing in the galaxy could break the bond of a father and his children.